Hello and welcome to the Books Crypto Club catch-up on Zoom. It's Sunday the 17th of October 2021, and in this session we talk about cryptocurrencies, blockchains, DeFi, NFTs, ICOs, STOs, any other letters you want to talk about. We never really know exactly what we'll end up talking about, though. Really depends upon who comes along. So do come and join us, come and listen. If this is your first time, do remember to subscribe. Just click on the subscribe button, go on, it gets the counts up, or click on the like, make comments on the YouTube video. And even better, if you enjoy this, come along to a future session where we meet every Sunday. You'll find the Zoom link in the details below. So let's see who's going to join us today and what we're going to talk about. Lee, hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, good, thank you. Thanks for coming and joining us.
Thank you.
We never really know how many people are going to join us on these sessions, so it may turn out to be a one-to-one type session, or we may have loads and loads, but we never really know. It depends on what the weather's like, and quite often when there's football on as well, that kind of affects that.
Oh, bless you. No, that's fine. I just saw the post and I was looking for a catch-up, so I'm just settling down. It said in under 50 minutes and I thought I was late. So
yeah, I tend to blast a quick note out to the various forums that I either run or I'm involved in some way, just to remind everybody. I always get loads of people who say, oh yeah, I'm definitely coming. Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, I think sometimes people like to attend, but then they don't prioritize, which is a disappointment, I think, because you are making the time. Yeah. It would be nice if they also made the time.
Yeah, but then equally, the number of people who've spoken to me and said, I don't come to your sessions, but I do watch the recordings, which is fantastic. So this is why I keep saying to people, do click on the subscribe button or wherever it appears afterwards. And you know, we'll build a channel in that way so people can watch at their leisure. So
that's right.
What's your interest in the crypto world?
So basically, I've been in crypto maybe for about 5 years, and I have sort of how can I say? I think it's a developing portfolio, if I may call it. And I haven't been in touch lately, maybe over the past 3 or so months, with the markets, what's been happening, because I had a lot of things going on at work and covering for many people.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, if you've been in it for 5 years, that makes you quite an old timer type thing, or a long serving type person. That's good. So do you trade, or do you invest, or do you just look at what's going on in the markets?
I'm more of an investor than a trader, to be honest. And I think my approach is more medium to long term.
Okay.
So there are some coins I got and I told myself I'm going to just hold them for the next 5-10 years through the ups and downs. So I'm not so worried about, you know, when the market goes down, no matter whatever the percentage, I'm just like, you know, I'm looking at the long term.
Yeah.
I used to trade, but I just couldn't keep up because of work. Like I work in HR, and you know what it's like working with people. Yeah.
Well, it's certainly something. I was speaking to somebody earlier on today about this, and said, look, if you invest for the long term, if you take Bitcoin as an example, Bitcoin, if you've bought it at any point whatsoever and held it for at least 4 years, you are in profit.
Definitely.
So that's really, really interesting. But it's that time scale of 4 years is quite long for some people who think you can make instant profits overnight type thing. Hey, Rachel's joined as well. Hey, Rachel.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I was running an insurance panel last week. I was moderating a conference, and it wasn't until at the end of the call someone pointed out it was an all-female panel. Oh, so it might turn out the same thing today, type thing. It's like we don't know, but that's brilliant. So how's life, Rachel? How are you?
It's all right. It's very busy. I'm an in the UK and in the railway industry. So we've got some voluntary severance going on across the industry.
Yep.
So that just generated a lot of work, I guess. So that's what's been keeping me busy. But in terms of crypto, I've been tracking my, I guess, profits with CoinMarketCap. But I just think I need to reorganize that portfolio, because in the past I just put the coins when I buy them and where they are, blah, blah. But now I think I need to sort of sort them, in a specific order. I'm staking some on Binance. I think a little bit on Coinbase. Not really familiar with PancakeSwap, but I've seen some people talking about pools there. Yep. And I think I always try to understand the risk, in terms of what I'm doing and how much risk I'm willing to take. So I'm not a high risk taker, but I would consider myself medium.
Yeah, well, it'd be interesting if anyone else joins us, or Rachel, I don't know if you're involved in the whole DeFi space of yield farming and things like PancakeSwap and SushiSwap and that kind of thing. Is that something you've done anything of, Rachel?
No, my strategy is basically, my strategy with crypto is to buy a little bit of everything and see what happens. And actually, to this week, something that I bought, but I only had like £2 worth of it. But it was that one that went up by like 10,000%, whatever it was.
Wow. Which
one is it? Oh gosh, is it New Cipher or something like that?
Okay. Yeah, New Cipher rocketed up the other day.
Yeah, I had it. Yeah. I've got it, but if only I had like more of it. But these are the ones which I'm getting on Coinbase free anyway, from doing their videos. So I've got a lot of those. So I'm just buying very small amounts of all of the altcoin to see, because just on the off chance that one will get good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's my strategy, really, just like waiting. But I get very frustrated, because I see my portfolio is up, down, up, down, up, down, and it's like, when's it going to do the big breakout? It's just frustrating waiting for it. I mean, I have faith in it, and I believe that it's the future of money, and that this time, in 10 years' time, we'll be looking back thinking that the prices today are very small.
Yeah,
that's what I believe. That's why I believe, like, people are looking back on Bitcoin and saying, oh, if only I bought it when it was 1p or whatever. I mean, now we have altcoins and some of them will go up and some of them might replace Bitcoin. So it's just a matter of waiting. It's just very frustrating when it looks like it's going to break out. So that's my strategy, just playing a long game and holding on in there.
It's funny as you said breaking up there, because I think your Wi-Fi signal was just breaking up at that moment, just as you said that. It's kind of bizarre. But I think you're right that there are different ways as well of obtaining crypto. And what you're describing, I think they used to be called faucets, which were ways of earning crypto without actually buying it. So as you say, if you watch a video, then you get paid in some crypto, and they were all like either airdrops or freebies or whatever. But they're the ones that haven't cost you anything, and they suddenly rocket up or whatever. Mm. And then you look. It was interesting. I did a short radio interview the other night with BBC Radio London. Bizarrely enough, talking about cryptocurrencies and dogs. And most people go, what? Yeah, well, there's this cryptocurrency called Dogecoin or Doggy Coin. And a couple of weeks ago, that rocketed up in price. And then someone, I think they may have just lifted a copy of Doge and created their own and call it Shiba Inu coin.
Shiba Inu, yeah.
Yeah, and Shiba Inu, every time Elon Musk tweets a photo of his dog, which is a Shiba Inu, like, Shiba goes up by 20% kind of thing. So it's a crazy world. But there are opportunities there.
I remember
he's manipulating the markets, basically. And if it was a regulated security, he would be going to prison.
Sorry, Lee, you were going to say.
No, I was saying I remember buying Shiba in April this year. And at the time, I did read a bit about it. It didn't really have fundamentals, but I was just like, it looks like it had a community and people were supporting it. So I think I put something like $100 in it. And then when I looked, it's gone above 7,000. I'm just like, okay, this is crazy.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's one of those I got as a wild card, and I was like, I can afford this. And if I lost it, that's also okay.
Yeah.
So I was now looking at, the way it's going. I'm like, yeah, I've taken out my capital, but I still believe it has some room to grow. So I think I've, started seeing that sometimes if you take a chance on this, but you're not like gambling, you're saying, I have the money, I can afford to do this.
Yep.
You could actually look at doing something with it, because I was like, I could actually add this to, my property portfolio, which I'm developing. But if it doesn't work out, it's fine, and I think it's about attitude, doing some research, especially if you're putting a lot of money. I always want to understand, what is it am I investing in? Why am I buying this? Why do I believe that, it's going to grow? Is there a community? Are there any fundamentals and things like that?
Yeah, I think you're right. In fact, I was having a conversation with someone earlier on today, and I'll always preface anything I say with, this is not financial advice, as sometimes. But if you can allocate some money that you can afford to lose, so I said to people before now, it's like, instead of having a cup of coffee, put the £2 in a jar and wait for the jar to stack up, and then go and buy some crypto. And then if it ends up in a few years' time, 100xing, 1000xing, 10,000xing, then that's fantastic. And if it goes to zero, you've missed out on a few cups of coffee. Big deal, doesn't change your life type thing. So I agree with you. I think that's a great approach. I always say, never put in more than you can afford to lose. And when I say lose, I do mean totally lose, not lose a bit of it type thing.
As in wrecked.
Yeah.
I think I saw somewhere, never put more than 1% of your net worth in crypto. I've heard that bandied about.
I'll bet whoever bandied that was a non-crypto person.
That's true.
Because it does come down to, if you look at what traditional, in the UK, what used to be called IFAs, I don't know what they're called now, so independent financial advisors, they would always talk about, first of all, assessing what your appetite for risk is, what your state in life is. So obviously, if you're young, you can make loads of mistakes with financial investments, and you can sort it out as you get older. As you get older and towards retirement, you can't afford to bet the farm type thing, because if it goes wrong, you've not then got 40 years to rebuild it. But one of the other things they then look at is portfolio allocation of low risk, high risk, and diversity as well. And this whole thing of, don't put it all into property or all into cash or all into gold, have it diversified. And then they talk about the kind of like the split of how much you go into each. And I think for highly volatile, highly risky things, they used to say about 5%. So the way I think of it is slightly differently. If you look at your total worth, if you own any cash in the bank, of property or anything like that, if you took 5% of that and lost it overnight, would it stop you sleeping at night or not? Or would you just go, yeah, well, whatever? Now, I see Lee's just shaking her head because she's young. So she's got loads of time that if she loses 5%, she can recover it. Whereas older people might go, oh, 5%, that could make the difference between me retiring at 64 and retiring at 65 type thing. But if
I think you're right, yeah, because that's the position I'm in. I want to retire within the next 5 years. So I'm looking mainly to be quite cautious, but I'm also doing the coffee cup thing where I just put some money that I can afford to lose, 50, 100 a month into crypto, because I don't mind if I lose that.
Yep.
So that's my strategy, really.
And if you think about it, if you put 50 or 100 into Shiba, and the way that's performed lately, then all of a sudden it would be whether you can afford to retire next week as opposed to next year.
But I always get the wrong ones, I always get the wrong ones. And I think partly it's because Coinbase, I mainly deal with Coinbase, and Coinbase only lists them once they get to a certain market cap, I think, or once they've done something noteworthy, then Coinbase will list them. And sometimes there's a big delay between them doing something or them becoming, you know, noteworthy and then Coinbase listing them. So I think I need to get onto these altcoins earlier, because I think waiting for Coinbase to list them, it's always too late almost.
Yeah. Well, this is where I think a lot of people join Telegram groups and that kind of thing to find out what's coming up early, and they'll monitor some of the websites that actually announce launches. Because again, I was describing to someone earlier on today how it is most cryptos tend to follow a pretty consistent pattern, that at the point at which they launch, that's when they 100x or whatever. There's a whole pump, then there's a whole dump, it collapses, and then they almost go to zero for maybe a couple of months, and then something magical happens. And, you know, Doge did this, Shiba did this, where all of a sudden they explode again. And maybe it's just that there's a group of people who've decided, oh, let's pump this coin or whatever. But if you can get in early enough on that, that's a good thing. So we've just been joined by Ellie. Hey, Ellie.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, good, thanks. I nearly managed to say the magic words then if you're on mute, but you managed okay.
Oh, are you okay now? Can you hear me now?
We can hear. That's good. Thanks for joining us. We never know what we're going to talk about in these conversations, so we always have people mixed levels, mixed interests. So do just join in if you've got any questions or you've got anything to share.
Well, I've seen your WhatsApp for a long time, and I never joined before. And I'm guilty, mainly because I thought you were looking more for developers. And now I'm really looking at it as an investor. Okay. And I'm sorry, I'm just still in Arizona. We're still waking up. So
that's okay, because I sometimes get people from the West Coast, so they're even worse or whatever. And occasionally you used to get a guy who's dialing from Miami, which wasn't so bad. So they're a bit different. So good morning to you.
Good morning and good evening to you. Yeah. And thank you for keeping me on your list. And I'm trying to invest with, I don't know if you're familiar in the US, the IRA system, you know, where you invest for retirement.
Okay. Roth IRA, is that it?
Well, actually, I have both regular IRAs and Roth IRAs, and I'm trying to figure out which company to use and which one can I get interest along with putting it in, and then what coins to buy. So I kind of come up with a conclusion, but I love to hear if you have any recommendations.
I'll open the floor to anyone else. Rachel and Lee may have better perspectives on this. I take an interest in the crypto world, and I look at things going up and down. I never offer predictions or recommendations. I stay away from that for fear of somebody investing their life savings and it disappearing overnight. I never want to be to blame for that.
I hear you.
But it's funny, we're talking just before you joined us about planning for retirement, and how it is that as you get older, you have to necessarily take less risk for fear that you don't want to suddenly lose a load of things. But equally, if you've only got a small proportion of your total personal wealth or whatever, then you can kind of put it into some pretty crazy things that if they go up 10,000%, brilliant. And if they go to zero, big deal, you've missed a cup of coffee. So
I think, you know, I would just advise, my strategy personally is to spread the risk by having small amounts of lots of different things. And that strategy has worked for me because I bought Ethereum maybe 5 years ago, when it was not seen as not really anything much, and Bitcoin was the main thing. And now I bought the same amount in terms of money of Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think I bought like 1,000 of each or something. And then my Ethereum is way overtaken the Bitcoin that I bought. And then with all the small ones, I just bought £50 of this, £50 of that. And then I was just saying to Gary earlier that I get a lot of free ones because whenever I see an opportunity to watch a video and get a free one, I get those. And then slowly, I think it's a long-term game, and you've just got to slowly, incrementally build it up, but with lots of different ones, because it can just crash to zero and then you just lose everything.
Rachel, that's interesting. That I track the various cryptos that I have against how they're performing against Bitcoin. And over time, Bitcoin always outperforms all of them. So unless you've happened to get in early on a new launch or something, if you look at whatever the top 20 is at any point in time, and say you bought a little bit of each of them, then Bitcoin over time always seems to outperform all of them. But you're saying that you think that your Ethereum holdings outperform the Bitcoin holdings. Is that right?
See, I haven't, yeah, it has, because the Bitcoin, I think it must have just been the time that I bought it, because I bought it, Ethereum crashed, and so I bought it in, it was Christmas. You probably know the year, and I can't remember the year, but
2017.
It was December 2017, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There was, everything was going crazy, and I bought Bitcoin and Ethereum. They all crashed down, and I bought Ripple, and that crashed. So they were the three that I bought. They all crashed right down, and then they started climbing again. And now my Ethereum is worth more than the Bitcoin is. It's overtaken it. However, I haven't done an analysis in terms of exactly, because the problem is with Coinbase is once you've bought it, it's really hard to see how much you've actually put into it. So I can't find any way of seeing like a transaction list of how much I actually put into it in the first place. So it could be that I put more into it, or I put the same amount into it. I'm not sure, but it's definitely outperforming it and gone right up.
Okay.
So don't quote me on that then, because it could be that I added more Ethereum and forgot or whatever. So, but it's doing really well compared to Bitcoin.
Okay. Maybe that's the thing then, because I remember certainly in December of 2017, Bitcoin hit $20,000.
Wow.
And then a few days later, it collapsed down to, I think it went down to about 8,000 or something.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah.
Was that? In fact, here we go. Just right here, if you can see on the screen.
Yeah, that was it.
It kind of went up to this crazy thing.
That's it. I got hit by that crash, basically.
Yeah. So it hit 20 and then dropped and dropped and dropped and ended up down at, what is it, 7,500, 7,000, and then dropped a little bit more type thing. But I thought over time, if you think about here, say you bought it at the highest of the high, when it was around about 20, it took until here, it took until December of 2020 before it got back to its original price again. If we
have a look at Ethereum, what it's done.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're doing here. Yeah. So if we do a similar thing of December 2017, so it went through the same experience where it rocketed up from about 700, hit a peak a little bit later at 1350, I think it was. So that was a couple of weeks later. It hit 1350, and it took until January 2021 before it got back to that place. So Bitcoin recovered faster. So it's really the interesting time is this zone from from like December 2020, where it was like 1,200, and it's now around about what, 38. So it's trebled in, what's that, a year thereabouts, or less than a year. If we take a look at Bitcoin over a similar period, then it's gone from 26 to at the moment 61, just under 61, which is
as well.
Yeah, which is not, yeah. So I think they're pretty similar. I can't remember. Can I easily talk amongst yourselves while I do this? But what I sometimes do is do a comparison of Bitcoin against Ethereum.
Yeah, then you see the difference. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
You see them against each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll maybe take a look at that later on. We'll do that separately.
So mine is not a very scientific analysis. It's just a kind of my portfolio and saying, oh, Bitcoin's overtaken, Ethereum's overtaken Bitcoin.
Yeah. And what you suddenly discover is that every week you've been putting a little bit more into Ethereum.
Yeah, something like that might have been happening. Yeah.
Okay. So there you go, Ellie.
What about, there's one that I'm interested in learning about. It's called AVE.
Mm-hmm.
AAVE.
Yep.
They're saying it's the Oracle of contracts.
How do you spell it?
It's AAVE.
AEAVE. Okay.
No, AAVE.
AAVE.
Yeah.
You never heard of it, Rachel?
No, I never heard of it. I like the way they've got to the top of the alphabet, though. That's really cool.
That's the way insurance companies operate.
Aardvark Insurance.
Yeah, it's what is it? With that cartoon series with the Roadrunner, and you got Acme Inc.
Yeah.
Every time he ordered something, it was always Acme Inc. because that's the beginning of the alphabet. So it's funny. I do a lot of stuff in the insurance sector, and a lot of insurance companies begin with the letter A. So you think about how you've got like Admiral and various other ones. Aviva. And it used to be so they appear at the beginning of the Yellow Pages.
Yeah, I remember the Yellow Pages. And if you looked in Yellow Pages, it'd be all these companies called 1, 2, 3, AAA or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's important now in the internet, in the days of the internet. But
Ellie,
if there's a list alphabetically, they'll be at the top, won't they? So
yeah, but Ellie, coming back to your point, Aave is quite well known because it is more of like an oracle layer in some ways. I've not investigated it myself. It'd be interesting. I don't know, Lee, have you looked at Aave at all?
Yeah, I have. It used to be called Land, though. Like at some point, it had Avi and Land in brackets, so I think they have sort of renamed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did. Sorry, go on.
Lee, where are you located?
Northamptonshire.
Oh, so you're all British.
Yes.
I'm in Oxfordshire.
Yeah, no, I'm down the road from Rachel, a bit closer to London, but between Oxfordshire and London. So yeah, we all happen to be in the UK today, but it does vary completely. So, sometimes we get people from South Africa, America, or wherever type thing. Okay. So it really varies. And I also run various WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, a couple of Signal groups as well. And with those, it's people all around the world. And I've had it. I was at a conference in Mumbai one time in India, and someone came up to me and said, "Hey, you're Gary Nuttall." Yeah, I'm in your WhatsApp group. It's like, oh, great. Which
well, you're
one?
Famous. You're famous.
But
how do we join them? How do we join the WhatsApp groups?
I can share a list of the ones I do. What I tend to do, if anyone isn't in any of them, then I send them a message that I send as a moderator every so often, which lists all of them off. Oh, so I've got a group which is about blockchain, one which is about crypto, one which is about what used to be called ICOs or STOs or TGEs or whatever you want to call them. One about what else we got? Mining. So if you're into crypto mining, there's a small group on that, although it's fairly quiet at the moment. One about job opportunities. So maybe this is where Ellie had heard originally, where she was talking about devs and that kind of thing. So I run it was a crypto consultancy type thing, but there's not been much on it. I'm trying to think what others are on. There's about half a dozen anyway. Blockchain and AI, that's another group.
Do you do anything on investing, you know, like the decentralized?
I haven't got a DeFi specific one, but the crypto one probably covers that. And I've also got one on NFTs as well, because NFTs are growing massively at the moment.
What are NFTs? Okay,
so an NFT stands for a non-fungible token. Mm-hmm. So you think about in 2017, 2018, there was a big explosion in what were called ICOs, or initial coin offerings.
Okay.
These were kind of like IPOs, but using crypto tokens, which were usually ERC20 tokens based on Ethereum. and people would sell them in order to raise funds, to begin a project, to go and do interesting stuff. They were fungible tokens. Now you've got non-fungible tokens, which is where the token represents the ownership of an asset in some way.
Oh, okay.
So this is where it's really interesting. There's big growth in them at the moment in digital art. So CryptoPunks was probably the big one in 2017, I think it was. But there have been various others that have grown since. So there's a lot of digital artists who now sell their digital art as an NFT, which means you've still got the JPEG or video or music or whatever, but they've created an NFT that shows that you own it. So this is going mainstream at the moment. So trying to think, Kings of Leon, who are a fairly well-known rock band, they've launched an album which has got an NFT related to it. NBA Top Shots, with you being in the States. So NBA, National Basketball Association, they've got a thing now where you can buy NFTs that relate to events that have happened in basketball. I think Nike may have done something recently. There was an art auction of, there's a British digital artist known as Beeple, and he sold an NFT artwork for $69 million recently. Wow. Or it was an auction anyway. It was Christie's or Sotheby's, can't remember which. So I'm an NFT advisor. I work for companies who are looking at doing NFTs for their business. And I run an NFT group as well, so that helps promote things. So yeah, wow. So if anyone would like to know more about any of those, just ping me a note directly.
Okay, I will.
You can find me, the easiest way of finding me for anyone who's not connected is if you go to Google and Google Gary Nuttall emerging technology or Gary Nuttall blockchain, and my LinkedIn profile will appear and you can get in touch. That's generally the easiest way. And if anyone would like to know more about the groups that I run, either the WhatsApp groups, Telegram groups, or Signal groups, then I'll happily share the links with those as well.
Great, thank you.
No problem. Because I'm always keen at building the community and helping people to learn. This was why this group was set up originally. It was all about learning and sharing knowledge with each other. Because sometimes when you're new to this, you know, I think everyone on the call today said they've been in the space for a few years, but when you're new to it, you know, setting up a crypto wallet feels a bit scary, and sending your first transaction. And
I tried to create my first account with Binance because I did a lot of research and that was the right one to do. I gave up. I couldn't get the money transfer over to them, and there was no customer service, no way to get anybody to answer. So I just gave up and decided not to do them.
Yep.
And I know they don't care because they're just looking for people who are very savvy and they know what they're doing.
Yeah, and this is the thing, that the whole crypto, the exchanges certainly are consciously avoiding having interactive customer service because that costs money. You know, if you've got a call center where you're paying people to answer calls, that costs money and it's inefficient. Whereas if you can automate it and just do it via email, it first of all keeps your cost base down for support. And secondly, it stops people making the effort of trying to get in contact, which is dreadful from a customer service point of view. But as you say, they don't care. They make so much money anyway.
I've heard really bad things about Coinbase's customer service and people who've lost all their money and then they don't reply. But I actually, one time I went into my Coinbase account and Ripple was showing a 0.
Okay.
So I was like, oh my goodness. So I emailed them, fill in their form, and they contacted me straight away. They contacted me within 24 hours and they said it's just some glitch and don't worry, it's still there. So I was quite happy.
Good.
But I think the general experience of crypto for most people is still pretty awful. As you say, you know, the exchanges are improving. So as you say, like Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, none of them had a good reputation for service. And that is something that will have to change over time, because one of the things that's putting people off at the moment is that it's still quite complicated to understand. So that's why I spend my time helping educate people that they can learn, but then providing the service and the support afterwards is the bit that is still pretty awful for most firms.
I went with Robinhood.
Okay.
And Robinhood was very easy to do the transaction. I didn't need customer service because everything was self-explanatory. And they offer 24/7 service on my iPad, on my iPhone. And I've been very happy with that. But I know that they are not the ones, and they don't charge fees up front. So, but I know that they're not going to offer everything I want.
Yep.
They don't have the wallets. They don't have the decentralized finance accounts.
And that's the thing. It really depends what you're looking for. That, you know, if you want to go for some really edgy, crazy, startup-y type things, you're not going to find that on Coinbase. Coinbase is very careful about what they list and what is available. Same with Binance these days as well. Whereas if you take a look at some of the crypto exchanges, particularly the Asian ones, like, is it HitBTC and Huobi, I think it is, they are the ones who will list the ICO type coins, which some of them might be scams, some of them might be legit, but some of the Asian exchanges don't care. They'll just list them anyway, and it gets them volume and it gets them going. But sometimes then you find that the liquidity's gone, the volume's gone, you can't trade, and they disappear overnight. So it's all a risk reward type thing.
Absolutely. There's risk on the company you're doing business with, and then on top of that, the crypto.
Yeah.
So there is risk of, I think everyone has lost something. I do think that, you know, everyone in crypto has lost something. I lost Ripple when an Irish company just disappeared overnight.
Really?
And I lost, yeah, 1 minute, it looked like a normal exchange, because when I started in 2017 December, there was a massive backlog. I think there was some kind of pumping going on or something. There was some news going on, and all the exchanges were really oversubscribed, and it was a 3 or 4 week waiting list to get onto the, you know, to get approved onto the exchange with your passport and everything. So I tried applying for quite a few of them, and Ripple was not on Coinbase, and I wanted to buy Ripple, so I joined this Irish one, which I can't remember the name of, and bought my Ripple on that, and it just disappeared completely. It just, with my Ripple, taking my Ripple with it as well.
I hope the other ones have compensated you for that loss.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, but it really made me realize you have to be very careful, and that's why I kind of stuck with Coinbase, because I felt that it was less likely to suddenly disappear.
Yeah.
Got it.
There are risks with all of them. You know, one of the ways that I get alerted that there's a big price shift with Bitcoin or Ethereum is when I start getting messages from people to say, I can't get into Binance. Yeah. Because you'll find sometimes that when there's a lot of activity going on, a lot of trading and a big price movement in some way, then magically, even the reputable exchanges, you know, the Coinbases, Binances, even Kraken in there, suddenly you can't trade or you can't log in. And it's like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So, hey, I see we're joined by Fernando as well. Good evening.
Gary, I'm going to have to go because I've got to put my son to bed.
No worries.
So I'll see you next week, hopefully.
Right. Thanks, Johnny, Rachel.
Okay.
Nice to meet you, Rachel.
Bye, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Bye.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ellie, I put something in the chat, a link about Aave, in case you want to read a little bit about it.
Yeah. Oh, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, hey. So there's another one that I was interested in learning, Gary. It's called Band, B-A-N-D.
I'm not familiar with that one. Lee, have you heard of that one?
Yes, I have. I am holding it.
There you go. Lee's a superstar. She's got exposure to everything.
Oh, really?
I think what I'll look up. I think I'll connect with you on Facebook, because what I did is I did some analysis of the coins I'm holding as part of my portfolio building, and the research I did and the justification of why I was buying it. So it might help you in terms of
Sure.
reading more about it.
Okay, that
Yeah.
sounds great. Great, and it's not traded
No,
by
it's
many
not-
exchanges either.
It's not financial advice, but I'm just saying whenever I buy something, I go through, trying to understand the background, who the developers are, what they're trying to achieve, or what problem that coin is aimed at solving,
It's
and
very
then
smart, Lee.
yeah.
Ellie, I'd offer some advice from experience of be very, very cautious of any cryptocurrency that isn't listed on an exchange, simply because it means that whoever's producing it has got complete control over it.
Yeah.
So if they disappear overnight, that there's nothing you can do. If it's at least listed, then that means a couple of things. It means that the exchange will have done a degree of due diligence, and how much due diligence they've done will depend upon the exchange. That may not mean anything. What it also means is that there's probably liquidity in a marketplace, that if you decide to sell whatever you have, then there's going to be someone willing to buy. The problem with an unlisted token is if you want to sell, who do you sell it to? All you can usually do is sell it back to the creator of the token. And
Right.
It's like taking out a private loan. This is what makes me a little bit nervous at the moment about, there's a token that got a lot of publicity called World Mobile Token. And World Mobile Token, Lee, I'm sure will know about it, and we've done the research, because it's got a great use case around being used as a token, particularly in Africa. I think they've launched in Tanzania around mobile telephony or something. And that the use case sounds good, the team sounds good, but I don't believe it's been listed on an exchange yet. And that makes me nervous.
Got it. Okay. I will not buy anything that's not listed in an exchange. But at the beginning, they are listed in limited number of exchanges. Like this Avi is not listed in every exchange.
Aave, I think, is recognized as a reasonably mainstream crypto these days, that enough people know about it, particularly in the DeFi space. So it is listed on some exchanges. The ones to be wary of are either the ones that aren't listed, because what do you do if you want to sell them, or
Right.
the ones that are only listed on what I would describe as marginal crypto exchanges. So some of the smaller ones that may not have the volume or the liquidity, or may just disappear overnight. So, so I always say, if it's listed on Coinbase, Binance, and Kraken, you're probably not going to go far wrong. Whereas if it's listed on HitBTC, if that's still going, or Huobi, just be cautious about that.
Okay. Sounds good.
But equally, that they might be the ones that offer the 10,000 times increase opportunities, but that opportunity comes at a risk. So
A high risk.
Exactly.
High risk, high return.
Yeah.
Got it.
Absolutely. It's like any other finance thing, the reward tends to relate to the risk element, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't know, Lee, have you looked at World Mobile Token at all, WMT? She's gone away.
You have
Sorry.
only women following TA.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. I was saying I looked at it, but then, like you said, the fact that it's not on any exchange, and there's been a lot of also some scams going on in African countries, it just made me concerned about it, to be honest.
Yep.
Because it's become like, wow, it's a growing market for crypto, but there are a lot of cases about really large amounts of money disappearing there, particularly in South Africa and other places.
Well, it's interesting. I was looking at a report that I think Chain Analysis did the other day about the global crypto scene. So they're looking at people around the world, or the wallets around the world, and this kind of thing, and the level of crypto adoption. And the thing I found fascinating was that the top country for crypto adoption and awareness is Vietnam. And then after that, I can't remember the correct order, but certainly in the top 5 was something like India, Pakistan, Nigeria.
Wow.
And then it was the more countries you'd expect, like the US, the UK, that kind of thing, which were a bit further down. But not Nigeria, I think, because they're trying to use it as a competitor against, is it the Naira? The Naira is the currency.
Yeah, the Naira, yeah.
The Naira. So I think there's some things on that. And you've also got things like, as well as M-Pesa, which is obviously very popular in, I think, Ghana and Kenya. M-Pesa being the mobile phone and mobile payments type thing. There's an equivalent one called BitPesa, which is a crypto equivalent, and that seems to be doing quite well out there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's so many of these things to be looking at, and so many different areas in that. I was trying to pull up a list of exchanges, just as we were talking there as well. And in fact, if we look at Bitcoin markets, I'll just, because this is useful for people who are watching afterwards as well, as to just how many markets there are out there. And this is just the crypto exchanges that trade in Bitcoin against various things like USDT, so Tether, or BUSD, which is Binance's equivalent. But you look at all of these exchanges, and it's just loads and loads of them. There's loads of options down there, and some of them offer great range of cryptocurrencies, but are very low in trading and that kind of thing. So the volumes are low, so the liquidity is low, which means you'll get very big price spike differences, and you may struggle at times to actually be able to sell things. A bit like the way I was saying before, that sometimes when Bitcoin suddenly rockets in price or drops in price, for some reason you can't log into Binance or whatever. The same tends to happen in the small exchanges. So just be wary of that, Ellie. And I don't know, any other words of advice, Lee?
I think I would just suggest along the lines of doing some fundamental analysis on crypto. I know it sounds like a lot of work, but I think it's sort of just building understanding around a coin, the team behind it, and just doing some due diligence. Because my worry is when people look at these numbers like, oh, this has grown by so much over so many hours, it's not really a safe way of putting money aside, considering I think over the past months, you've had some where people would become millionaires or billionaires overnight, and then it crashed and everything goes down to zero. And sometimes on social media, you could also be having a group of coordinated people who have decided to pump the price up. They are working together and they know when to sell. And, I think even some of the YouTubers, sometimes they belong to such groups of people. And it's just being mindful that while Ethereum, for example, or Bitcoin, the likes of Link and Ripple may not grow quickly over time, but there's some stability around those coins if you consider how long they've been there for, and I think sometimes slow growth is more sustainable than some of these fast growths which don't last for a while. And I think also understanding maybe the technology behind, the project, sometimes it's like people cloning what's already there. And because of that, it's not going anywhere, though in the short term, it could look like it's growing. And also probably understanding if there are any experts auditing, the project, and is it licensed, or sometimes they might have certain capital reserved and things like that, which many people don't do. I think people just quickly say, this coin is growing, where can I buy it? And they quickly buy, and then you wake up and that exchange has disappeared, or things have happened with the coins. I think also understanding at the team members and the founders, what sort of credentials do they have, level of expertise, because I found that sometimes when you see projects whereby successful founders have been involved in, like for the for example, Ethereum and all that, and Cardano, you see the links in there. You can actually see these people have been around the industry for a while, and they understand what they are doing, unlike someone just sitting behind their computer and coming up with the coin. And obviously the use case, I think it's very important because it determines the demand or the likely demand and the size of the market as well, and circulating supply. I think it's really important because when you look at Bitcoin, we know that, you know, in terms of the number of coins in circulation and what's been mined already, I think one of the things driving demand is the scarcity that we know, you know, it's less than, is it 3 million coins to go?
Yep.
Yeah.
But it'll take until 2140.
Yeah.
2140 before all those coins have been mined.
Yeah.
If it lasts that long.
Yeah.
So,
and I
so
think,
Lee, what is the range of resources that you have or that you use to do all this research? Because I'm new at this, I don't even know where to start.
So I've just put in the chat, there's a link, I think, which just tells you about how you can perform crypto fundamental analysis all by yourself. It just gives you the step by step. I found it very useful for beginners because I think if you sort of start understanding, some people don't even know there is like things like white papers, which tells you about the background of, you know, the coin, gives you all these things, roadmaps and who is in it. And I think it's really important, especially if you are planning to invest.
Yeah,
great.
I think the amount of research you need to do kind of correlates to how long you're planning on keeping the coins as well.
Yeah.
So I think you're right that if you're looking at this as a long-term investment, then there is value in looking at the team, the background, and all that kind of thing. But if you're looking for short-term gains, actually it doesn't matter. You know, because if you look at, like, as Lee said, the concept of use case, usability, team background, then Ethereum is amazing. You know, you've got Bitcoin. Bitcoin allows you to transfer value, and that's it. No, nothing else. Ethereum, you've got smart contracts. You've got the ability to do so much more with programmability, but the price of Bitcoin has gone up far more than the price of Ethereum. So it's one of those things of just be mindful that sometimes the utility or usability of a cryptocurrency or a crypto token does not necessarily get reflected in its price. And this is, I was having this conversation with someone about Cardano. Cardano, again, great team, great heritage, great use cases, well thought out, great community. But all because the blockchain layer has got all of those things, don't necessarily expect that to be reflected in the cryptocurrency. Yeah. And I think this is sometimes the thing that people sometimes mix up the price of the cryptocurrency with the utility of the blockchain technology that runs it.
Yes.
And actually they're not always connected. So we'll see. I see we've just been joined by, well, it says Energy Healing. I'm sure they've got a real name. Who's just joined us? Oh, they're not coming off mute, so maybe they're just here to watch and listen. This happens sometimes where we get people who just come on and they just sit there and they just listen.
Hello, mate. Is that Gary?
It is.
Hi, my name is Chris. I'm a friend of Andy. You might know Andy Wall.
I was going to say, I know many Andys.
Andy Wall.
Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I've been on the group for a while now. It's a lot of fun. I've been on the blockchain group as well. I've got average knowledge of things, but I thought I'd just join you tonight just to find out, you know, what's being said, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as I was saying to, I think, Ellie and possibly Lee earlier on, what we end up talking about depends totally on who comes along. And some weeks it might be just like a one-to-one if just one person joins. Other weeks we have 8-10 people. We talk about anything, whatever. Do you have any particular questions you'd like answering at the moment or anything?
Two, really, I suppose. One general question: what's your take on NFTs?
So I'm an NFT advisor. So I've actually worked with a number of organizations. I helped a art gallery run a art auction where there are NFTs available to link in with the physical art, which is something quite unique because most NFTs is to do digital art. I'm an advisor to a US company who are developing a really interesting proposition on NFTs at the moment. And I'm working on a UK project where they're looking for funding to do some really exciting stuff on NFTs. So I think NFTs are ultimately blockchains done right. So I'll just quickly describe that. You think about the use case around blockchains is sometimes around tracking and tracing goods and authenticity and origination and traceability. NFTs allow you to do that much, much easier. So I think that at the moment that there's been several iterations with NFTs, that there was digital art. Currently, there's a real growth in collectibles. So things like crypto kitties or cyberpunks or whatever. Then the next wave is going to be, I'm not even sure, probably around the maybe more collectibles, but you see more mainstream companies. I was talking about Kings of Leon before, and a few other bands and that kind of thing are getting into this space. The NFTs are going to explode once you start using them to manage real world assets. So think of them, I describe them as the 21st century share certificates. That once you get to the point where you're actually using NFTs as evidence of ownership and growth in that way, I think there'll be really big growth. Does that help answer your question, Chris?
Yeah, because from what I was seeing, it's mainly about art and collectibles and unique virtual products.
Yep.
Right.
Which is the other thing, you'll hear the phrase the Metaverse mentioned in connection with NFTs quite a lot. So the Metaverse is very much the crossover between things like gaming, virtual real estate, virtual games, and then linking that across into the physical world. So the idea that at the moment, if you're into gaming and you're into like Roblox, you can buy Robux, which is, it's almost like a cryptocurrency in a way. It's the money that you can buy items on Roblox games, but you can't swap between a Roblox game and a game made by another manufacturer, and you can't bring it into the physical world. So the Metaverse is kind of crossing that divide between the virtual world and the physical world. And NFTs are being used a lot in that space now. That's probably going to be the next biggest growth area, I suspect.
In games?
It's already growing in games. So Axie Infinity, I think, is a cryptocurrency that's worth taking a look at, which is that's very closely involved in the gaming world. And I think Axie Infinity are doing a lot of stuff in the NFT space as well. So if you check out something like, I think they're listed on OpenSeas or Rareable or something, which, they're NFT marketplaces. You'll find some stuff on there. So yeah, I think this is all going to be the next big growth. You see in the crypto world, there's this whole series of hypes and collapses and hypes and collapses. So in probably 2016, 2017, it was crypto. So Bitcoin went to $20,000 and then tanked. Then there was the ICO craze. The ICO craze around about 2018 of everyone trying to raise money for their projects. That then went into STOs. Then it all became regulated and lost interest. Then you had the DeFi craze. DeFi, particularly in 2020, there was this sudden wave of growth of things. Now 2021, you get more DeFi and NFTs. So I think NFTs is that current wave, but each wave kind of grows and builds on the previous one, so it gets bigger and bigger.
It's interesting that you say it is going to be used as evidence of value, or like a share certificate on the blockchain. That's really interesting. Yeah.
And you're seeing it. You've already had it of things like fractional ownership of assets.
Yeah.
So there's a whole number of things like gold or property or rare and collectible cars. So they've been through that phase already of people trying to do fractional ownership using crypto. But I think we're going to see NFTs will be the next wave of that. So I'm conscious, just an alert, it's nearly on the hour, and we only run this for 1 hour. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to close this off. So Kristen, come and join us again. Join us a little bit earlier.
I will do.
And Lee, thanks for joining us and contributing. And Ellie, hope you found this of interest, and thanks for some stuff as well. What I suggest, I'm going to close this off now, but do come and join next week. It's open to everybody. We talk about whatever people want to talk about. So I'd just like to say thank you for joining us today. I hope you found it interesting and useful.
Yes, thank you so much, Gary. It was very helpful. And Lee, thank you so much for your links. I got them. I printed them.
You're welcome. Take care.
Excellent. Well, have a great day, everybody, and have a good one, and be safe. Bye now.
Bye. Bye. Bye.